am Kylie Jean, and I am here with a very special guest today. We have Bencosme. She is an author. She comes from an educational background, and she's here to speak with us on a very important topic that's wrapped around identity, really, at its core.
Yes,
Faye,
yes.
thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is such an honor and a privilege, and it's just been a joy in the few minutes that you've gotten to unpack with me who you are, what your book is about. It really is critical in this day and age.
It absolutely is.
Can you share with our audience a bit more about your book?
Oh yes, absolutely. You Are Not Your Race, embracing our common humanity in this chaotic age, is exactly what it says. It does a lot of things, but it's really built on the premise that biological race is a fallacy.
Yeah.
It is a created identity. And what I wish readers will do is, after reading the book, considering giving up these created government identities and sharing and embracing our common human identity, which is God-given.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But yes, we have more in common than we think we don't.
Yeah.
And as long as we continue to hold on to these created identities, we're going to continue with this divisive business that's happening right now. Yes, absolutely.
It's interesting too to me that you coined it as a divisive business.
Yes, it is.
It is. Nobody talks about it in those terms. I think that that's a really great way of grasping it. You come from an educational background, being an educator yourself. How have you seen this verbiage actually really take place and this ideology infiltrate the schools?
Yeah, what I've seen happening in schools, there's the creating of spaces where you can't actually educate anymore because it's become so much about protecting these identities that these children are having foisted upon them. And they're fragile identities, really, and if you try to challenge anyone about it, then they just fall apart and start with the crying and whatnot. But yes, they need these protected spaces to really hold on to this, again, fallacy that does not exist. Ladies and gentlemen, biological race is a fallacy. It is government created. These categories of race literally created by the Carter administration in the 70s with their directive number 15. You can look it up if you don't believe me.
So where do we see the actual switch? Because from my experience, I feel like they don't even teach history as they once did. So when you go all the way back to the Carter administration, can you unpack that a little bit more?
So we had the Carter administration create these categories, and the idea was that these categories would be used to do counting for very specific things, very specific areas. But then we saw it being exploited. Oh, and I should back up and say the Carter administration was very clear about not using these categories for participation in federal programs.
Interesting.
But then what happened? You give an inch,
take a mile.
They take a mile. And that's what we've seen happen. We've just seen over time, unfortunately, with affirmative action and a number of other programs, it just grows legs and it spreads throughout the institutions, and that's where we are now.
So what do you think is the solution to this? Because we've seen a mass exodus where people are being homeschooled now more than ever.
Yes.
But as coming from an educational background, where I would assume that would be a big part of your heart is teaching and equipping people.
Yes, yes.
So what would you say is the best plan of action to be able to either take back our school systems or bring back proper education into the family circle?
Yes, I for one, I'm not so sure that our education system is redeemable. And if I were a parent right now, I would be taking my child out of school.
That's a big statement, especially from somebody who came from teaching and educating.
Yes, if I were a parent, I would be taking my children out of school right now. I don't know that we're going to see a turnaround in the education system as long as it is under the control of teachers' unions. They're the biggest, how should we say, funders, contributors. They're one of the biggest groups to support the Democrat Party and to hold up their ideals.
Ideals and indoctrinations that we're quite clearly seeing as not only does it come through in big tech overreach, which here at FreeSpace we want to be able to create that space for conversations just like this to unfold without censorship, to encourage and bring community together, and to be able to support people exactly like yourself who are writing truth and bringing it to the people. So we really appreciate everything that you're doing and who you are. Could you just give that mother and father at home that encouragement, speaking from a standpoint of the perspective of your book, of your background in school, to the mom and the dad that are just don't even know, they're overwhelmed on where to start to unfold these conversations?
Yes, don't be afraid is what I want to say to parents. You have the capacity to do more than you think you do. Unfortunately, a lot of parents think, oh my gosh, if I take my child out of school, who's going to educate them? You can do it. There's lots of support out there for it. There are lots of resources out there for you to do that. And with a little effort, you'll find that, you might just be able to exist on that one income. You really can do it. You're doing it for your children. We all need to make sacrifices. Our children should not be one of them.
That's so good and so true, because we're seeing the multi-generational effect in a place right now.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
One last thing, where can people find your book?
Oh, November 1st on Amazon. And if you'd like to receive updates or reminders in the meantime, FeBencosme.com. Please visit and sign up for updates.
Thank you so much for being here, and I'm so excited to read your book.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.